Excuse me. I guess you work for Stars, huh? How's old man Sandy doing?
He unfortunately passed away.
Did he really? I knew little Sandy's passed away about 5 years ago. Maybe it was longer than that.
Longer than 2 or 3, and then Big Sandy was a year after that, actually.
Huh. Well, I didn't know that. He's a good guy, great guy. Yeah. That's where they're.
So, I am not sure who the link was sent to, but it is being recorded as well.
So it'll go to YouTube.
Yes.
So I can send it through YouTube and then that means that you don't it's so the parents could hear it. Well, are we on the way here?
Oh, no, you're fine right there.
Anyway. You know when you turn into Manor Lane? You try to take a right there. I think that's the end of this one. Then they said, that's what this one got said. I don't always remember you're on.
Finally come.
That's it right there.
Cindy. She watched the baby too. There he is. Skeeter.
She's got a great take it.
I'd take one if I was you. Just in case.
Just had hip surgery, so I did not.
You never know, yeah. But we can do that.
Last week, I mean, he took a notice of him. He's been good.
Very good. It was like he went in Wednesday and guess it's the first day he didn't suffer. Yeah. Nothing wrong with drawn out.
Never should put things on. I was in the car first. I didn't know he was going Thursday. Just found good things up.
You never know.
We could start.
Huh?
We could start. That is okay. That was you? You said something. That's what they always say. So.
23. Mizmor David, Adonai Roy Leachzor, Minos Desha Yarbutseni Al Memenuchos Yinahale, Nafshi Yishrei Begancheni, V'magle Tzedek L'man Shmo, Namkielech V'geit Salmoves L'Lira Rakiato Imodi, Shiptachov Rishantecha Hemo Yinachmoni, Taroich L'panai Shulchan Neged Tzoreroi, Shanta Hashem and Reishi Kaisi Ravoya, Yisroi B'chesed Yordifuni Kol Yimei Chayai, V'shafti B'Graveside the Song of David. Lord is my shepherd, I shall not lack. God causes me to lie down in lost pastures. God leads me beside tranquil waters. God restores my soul and guides me in the righteous paths for God's name's sake. Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil. For you are with me, your scepter and staff, they comfort me. Prepare a table before me in full view of my adversaries. You anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. May only goodness and kindness pursue me all the days of my life. I shall dwell in the house of the Lord for 11 days. With heavy hearts and deep anguish, we've come together, sharing our sorrow, to bid farewell to Manuel Cohen, Mendel and Herschel HaKohen. We recall the blessing of his life. We thank God for all that was good and true in his life, and for the precious memories which we know will endure. Eternal God, Creator, merciful Father of all, your children, bowed in grief, seek light to dispel the dark gloom which threatens to overwhelm them. Gracious to those who mourn for their distress, bless them with your compassion, ease their burden of sorrow, send them light and peace, for it is written, fear not, I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you, I will help you, and I will sustain you with my power. And let us respond. Amen. Now I'd like to call Rabbi Bach from Synagogue PSBI to recite the psalm. Tehillim Tefon, 15th Psalm. Mizmor David, Adonai bi Yagor b'Halacha, Yishkom b'Har Kashecha. Olet Kavi b'Chol Tzedek, Yoder b'Chol Haro. V'Magal Rishono, V'Asal Rehu Ra'ah b'Kapol V'Sal Provo. Yizeh bin Abimas, V'Syer V'Yichaveh. Shpal Haro V'Lo Yamir. Shaspol Rasa B'Deshet, Shokar Al-Nakhi Lo Lakach. Mosei Ela, Lo Yimot Yolam. Song of David, Lord, who makes sojourn in your tent, who may dwell in your holy mountain, who walks in purity, does what is righteous, and speaks the truth from the heart. But no slander of the tongue, or harm to a fellow, nor casts great disgrace toward the neighbor, whose eyes of contemptible persons repulsive, who honors those who are in awe of the Lord, who swears truthfully even to personal hurt, and never retracts, who does not lend money in interest, nor takes a bribe against the innocent. One who does these things shall never falter. Rabbi Rassi, Synagogue Emmanuel.
Ashrei Aish Asher Lo Halach Tzat Rishayim V'Derech Atayim Lo Aman V'Moshav V'Tzim Lo Yasham Ki'im B'Torat Adonai Chefetzo V'Torato Yegeh Yomam V'Layla V'Yah Ke'etz Shetul Al-Palgei Mayim Asher Piro Yiten V'Yito Le'alegu Lo Yibol V'Chol Asher Yaseh Yatzilech Lo chen harshaim im kamot asher tiften ruach al ken lo yakumu rishaim b'mishpat v'chataim v'adat tzadikim yodei Adonai derech tzadikim v'derech rishaim lo veish. Happy is the one who has not followed the counsel of the wicked, nor stood in the path of sinners, nor sat in the company of the scornful. Rather, that one's delight is in the Torah of the Lord, meditating in God's Torah day and night, and will be like a tree planted by streams of water that yields fruit in its season, whose leaf will not wither, and whatever that one does prospers. Not so the wicked, who are like chaff that the wind drives away. Therefore the wicked shall not survive judgment, nor sinners the assembly of the righteous. For the Lord loves the ways of the righteous, but the ways of the wicked are doomed.
I just want to point out that Manuel was a Cohen, as is Harris, and therefore he's sitting on the side. He doesn't have COVID. He's sitting on the side because the Cohen doesn't go under a tent where there are flames. Sar Begadol Nafal Hayom Yisrael. A prince and a great man has fallen today in Israel. These were the words spoken by King David upon the death of Abner, the commander in Saul's army. And today they ring true yet again. As we say goodbye to Manuel Cohen, Mendel Ben Herschel Cohen, a man who was both a prince of humility and humanity, and a giant in heart and in kindness and generosity. We all know one thing, that after God created Manny Cohen, he broke the mold. Manny was just something else. He was a legend, a force of nature, a one-man paradox. He was cantankerous yet kind. He was frugal yet incredibly generous. He was gruff yet deeply gentle. A relentless workaholic who above all was a devoted family man. He was frugal to a fault, unless it was for someone else. When it came to his own needs, he pinched every penny. But when it came to you, he opened his wallet, his store, his reputation, and his heart without hesitation. He gave millions of dollars to charity, but he drove an old beat-up car that many of the recipients of his charity wouldn't be caught dead in. He made Barron's not just into a successful department store, but into a sanctuary. A place where people could come for a listening ear, a joke, a story from 50, 60, sometimes 70 years ago. But more often than not, people came there for help. Teachers came when they needed clothing for their students, families needing help with rent, friends needing help with a roof, a car, or just sometimes a second chance. He co-signed on loans, extended credit, gave freely of money and time and kindness. Just take one look at the scores of the flood of comments on Barron's Facebook page. It's almost an oxymoron, Barron's Facebook page. If you look on the Barron's Facebook page, you'll see scores of comments of people who were helped by Manny Cohen throughout his life. Even though he was burnt many times, he never stopped because he had a golden heart. Kim was once at a funeral just a few years ago, and someone came up to her and said, "Are you Kim Cohen?" And she said, "Yes." And they went on to share a memory that had stayed with them for decades. It was December 1968, and her brother's house had caught fire in the middle of the night. There were 4 children in the home. Tragically, the youngest one, Ben, who was just 3 years old at the time, lost his life to the fire. At 3 a.m., Mr. Cohen arrived at the scene, brought him to the store, and opened the store and said, "Take whatever you need." He also said, "Make sure to take everything you need to the funeral." He didn't ask for anything in return. He just did it because he was right and because he had a golden heart. Just last week, Linda, who worked in the store for over 40 years, was telling Manny about someone who had stolen merchandise, thousands of dollars worth of merchandise. And Manny asked what had happened with him, and she said he's still in prison. And Manny turned to her and said, hasn't he suffered enough? Isn't it time to make sure he can get out? Why? Because he had a golden heart. In the 1980s, Willie Nelson played a concert in Charleston. It was sponsored by Wrangler Jeans, and Manny, being the top customer, maybe the only customer in Charleston, got to get backstage passes to meet him. And they exchanged contact information. That usually would have been the end of it, but not with Manny. A few years later, Manny read in the paper how Willie was in serious trouble with the IRS. Most people would have just shrugged, but not Manny. He called up an old classmate who lived in Atlanta. He was a brilliant attorney or an accountant. And he said, you need to help Willie Nelson. And then he contacted Willie Nelson, and he put them in touch. The accountant stepped in, solved the problem, and saved the day. Willie later on called him up to ask him, how can I repay you for what you've done? And Manny, in his classical style, just grunted. No fanfare, no invoice, no expectations, just doing the right thing, because that's who he was, because he had a golden heart. When he donated a new wing to the Center for Jewish Life in honor of his family, we asked him what it should say, and he said it should simply say the Cohen family wing. And we said, Manny, but you know there's lots of Cohens. They're not going to know it's you. And he said, that's just the way I like it. Because he had a golden heart. And then were, of course, his stories. Fascinating, but one story in particular he never told without shedding a tear. Manny Cohen was by no stretch of the imagination politically correct, in spite of how much Marissa tried. He tells the story as a young man in the dark days of the segregated South. He was eating in Leb's Deli in Atlanta, Leb's restaurant in Atlanta. A well-dressed black woman walks in, and the restaurant refused to serve her. Manny went up to the owner, looked in his eyes and said, how can a Jew, someone who knows what it means to be treated as less, treat another person like this? And every time he told this story, and most of you have probably heard it 5 or 6 times from him, he would burst into tears. Because that's not just compassion. That's a soul that feels somebody else's pain. That's somebody who has truly a golden heart. He adored his family more than anything else. He worked and lived to make sure that they would never be lacking. When Kim was diagnosed at a young age with diabetes, he slept on the floor of her room night after night just to make sure that she was okay. Becoming a grandfather was the highlight of his life until he became a great-grandfather. Rosie was truly his pride and joy, and Eleanor can ditto that. The story is told of a disciple of the Baal Shem Tov, great Zev Kitsis, who came to his master, the Baal Shem Tov, and said, I want the opportunity to see Elijah the prophet, to meet an angel, to meet a celestial being. And the Baal Shem Tov told him, no problem. Next Passover, go to a certain home on the edge of town, a little hovel, and over there is a widow and her children. Go spend Passover there, and you'll find, if you're over there, you'll be able to encounter Elijah, you'll be able to encounter an angel. He said, but make sure you pack enough food, because they're poor, you don't want to be a burden. So he packs his wagon of food, and he goes to the home, he knocks on the door, and says, can I spend Passover here? And the widow says, yes, no problem, but you don't have much food. You don't want to hang out. And he spends Passover, and he's always looking, he's praying, and he's looking out to see whether he can find Elijah, whether he can find his angel. Passover goes by, and not a one sighting of the angel, of an angel. he goes back to the Baal Shem Tov, and he says, I didn't see an angel, you fooled me. He says, go back next year, but look even harder. The next Passover, he goes back, he does the same thing, he packs his wagon with food, he goes back, and this time he doesn't even sleep, because he's scared that maybe at night he'll miss the angel sighting. Again, 8 days pass, no Elijah. At this point, he's getting quite frustrated. He goes back to the Baal Shem Tov and says, you fooled me. The Baal Shem Tov says, no, go back again next year, but look even harder. He goes back the third year, he packs his wagon, and he's about to knock on the door of the widow's home. He hears children crying from inside, and the children are crying, and the children are saying, Mama, Passover's coming, and we don't have any food. How are we going to celebrate the holiday? And the mother turns to the children. He hears the mother telling the children, don't worry. Last year, God sent us an angel with food. 2 years ago, he sent us an angel with food. This year, he'll send us an angel as well. And in that moment, she realized that he was the angel. And that was Manny. Manny was a deeply religious man. He liked to say he controlled the Yiddish vote at Monk's Corner. Judaism was real for him. He lived it in his bones. But when he wanted to find an angel, he didn't look upward, he looked inward. Because you don't need, and he realized that you don't need to have 8 wings to be an angel, but in order to be an angel, you just need to act. And he was an angel for so many. No pomp, no speeches, just by showing up, generously giving again and again and again. And he made people believe in goodness because he lived it. He made people believe that kindness exists because they saw that it existed within his heart. So today we don't just mourn his loss. We thank God who we lucky enough to know him, to learn from him, to love him and to be loved by him. And we promise to carry forth his golden heart in our actions, in our giving, just showing up for another person, just like Manny did in so many ways. Now as our angel ascends heavenward, may he continue to look down with tremendous nachas and joy on his beloved family. Eleanor, Kim, Harris, Tiffany and Eli, Marissa, and of course the apple of his eye is crown jewel Rosie. You know how much he loved you all. And you know how proud as he was of you all. But now may you walk proudly in the enormous shoes that he left behind. Yes, they're huge. Yes, the expectations are high. But so is the tailwind behind you. And that's love pushing you forward. May his memory be for a blessing. May each of us carry forth a little piece of Manny Cohen, grumbles and all. May we each be a little bit more like him, always giving, always humble, always with a full and an open heart. May his soul be bound in the bond of everlasting life. To share recollections of their dear grandfather, I'd like to ask Tiffany and Marissa to come forward.
Thank you all so much for being here today. I'm Tiffany Shipman, and I'm Marissa Guy, and we are proud to be Manuel Cohen's daughters. To most of you, he was Manny, or Mr. Cohen, or Mr. Barron, but to us, he was simply and wonderfully Papa. We want to share a little snapshot of Papa's final week, which was very on brand for him. Last Saturday, my husband Eli, our daughter Rosie, and I drove up to Monk's Corner to have lunch with Papa. And naturally, that meant one thing: lunch at Howard's. As was loving, generous, social, funny, and one of the hardest workers we've ever known. He was also stubborn, frugal, stern, and bless him, not the most generous tipper. Social tipping had not quite left the 1980s, and we'd often quietly add a little extra to make sure we were welcome back to the restaurant. But despite all of that, or maybe because of it, Papa was deeply caring and compassionate. He always showed up for people, whether it was friends, family, or a total stranger who walked into the store with a problem. He wanted to help. Our daily phone calls with Papa followed one of two scripts. Number one, there's a stock I want to buy. The symbol is DECK, D-E-C-K. They report earnings on Wednesday. Buy 1,000 shares today, and we'll see how it looks on Thursday. Number two, a woman came into the store today. Her son is sick. What can we do? Who do we know? Let's fix it. He was part Wall Street, part social worker. He was also a gifted storyteller. He could spin a tale that had you laughing or lingering. But when it came to the people he helped, he barely said a word. That wasn't for public consumption. That was private, just between him and the person in need. And that quiet humility might be one of the greatest stories he's ever told. He found enormous success in business through retail, real estate, and the stock market, but he lived simply. The man lived in the same house since 1966, and it still looks like 1966. He had no interest in boats, beach houses, sports cars, or desire anything. His greatest joy wasn't in having, but in giving, providing for his family, supporting his community, and lifting up anyone in need. We don't know if we'll ever match his legendary frugalness, though we'll try to embarrass our children with coupon books in his honor. But we will strive to match his heart, his integrity, his instinct to show up. Papa wasn't just a grandfather, he was a force, and he leaves behind a legacy that will echo through generations. Thank you again for being here today. We know Papa is up there watching this crowd, smiling, and probably wondering if the funeral home gave us a good favor.
Dear friend Aaron Hyman, for all of you that are gathered here today that knew Manny, you can never say Manny was sort of different. Manny lived his life. Manny lived his life the way he thought was the best one, and nobody should ever tell him different. I met him through my father, who's also a Nishmat from Manny. They were definitely the best of friends and would call each other all the time. On original meetings with Manny, Cohen and each of them came to Friday night dinner at my home and brought Tim and Harris along and Eleanor. They would always be at our house for Passover also. He definitely had He also definitely was into gambling a bit, just for enjoyment, like was said. He liked for me to drive with him to Myrtle Beach often and gamble on the boat from there. I wasn't very the best at it, but Manny was able to count the numbers and knew the odds. Manny had so many friends, it's hard to number them. I would have had to say the man never knew a stranger. People, all walks of life, considered him a close friend. As soon as my dad passed away, Manny stepped in, became like a father to me. Called me not only once, but many times, multiple times a day. Occasionally he would started talking to a customer and forgot I was even on the phone.
Manny used to like to go to Orion's Steakhouse every Sunday and bring the Sunday paper and share it. They would read it cover to cover while eating breakfast and reading the paper, and stayed there long enough, and now the lunch was being served, and now they ate lunch. As you'll probably know, this will leave a large void in my life. Sometimes if I were not sure where everyone else would recall, my wife picked up the phone just for him to tell her another story from Monk's Corner and characters that he encountered. Manny had a friend that owed him money and called Manny and let him know that he's in his house and he would give him a hand. Manny would stop everything, go pick this gentleman up, and take him to the place he wanted to go wash windows and make some money. And then, of course, like Manny wasn't happy how long he took, but he waited for him, took him back to his house, stopped for a hamburger with the gentleman, and brought him back to his home. Manny might have grumbled a bit while this was going on, but he didn't. Manny thought it took an awfully long time to wash those windows. Manny understood. The people of his own town that struggled to make ends meet were worthy and not unyielding. Were worthy or not unyielding, patient, and empty. Empty that the heart of these left for me. My life will never be enriched by knowing this man. Dear friend of Manny, Congressman Henry Brown.
It's been a real pleasure of mine to get to know Manuel. Sometime, I guess, about 25 or 30 years ago, a mutual friend of ours, John Cummings, introduced the two of us, and we've been good friends ever since. As I listen today to all the good things that happened to Manuel and all the things he was involved with, I can attest to it. I can vouch for the fact that he did a lot for a lot of people, but it didn't look in return. I remember just talking to him. We met, I guess, probably about a month or so ago in Charleston Southern, and we were there at luncheon, and for the ones that had needed a scholarship in order to be able to attend school. Manuel was there because he was a big supporter of Charleston Southern. In fact, to support that, when the current president decided he was going to move to another school, Liberty up in Virginia, that Daniel wanted to get one last chance to chat with him, and so he wanted to have lunch with him. And so he asked the president, would you like to go to Howard's, or would you like to go to downtown to one of those fancy restaurants? That's where you pick. So, he really was a very frugal guy, and he was very special to me. In fact, he was not only frugal, but he was a pretty shrewd business person too. And I remember that can't say much more today, other than so impressed with all the testimonies that's been given before I had a chance to speak. But I know as we had the birthday party, back for his 90th birthday, Ken put it on. It was a real nice thing. Unlike today, it was a rejoicing because Manuel had turned 90. Not only had he turned 90, but he had a lot of his friends that were willing to testify of their connection to Manuel and their friendship. And I'm sure if y'all had a chance today, this pulpit would be filled with people that wanted to give their testimony about their connectivity with Manuel. Manuel, we'll miss you. We love you. God bless you.
If you're able to, please rise for memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shoichein Bamroimim, Amtei Menucha Nechona, Al Kanfei Ashkina, B'Malois Kadoshim Utarim, Kozak Yamas Yirin, Es Nishmas, Mendel Bat Hershna Kohen, Sholach Leolamoi, Babur Shanachnu Mitzparlim, Be'al Askaras Nishmasoi, B'Gaden Trim Nechaso, V'chein Bal Rachamim, Yastir Abusei Knafov Leolamim, Yitzror B'Tzror Chayim Es Nishmasoi, Adinoi Hu Nachalasoi, V'yonuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo, V'neimar Amen. God full of compassion who dwells on high, grant perfect rest on the sheltering wings of your divine presence, among the holy and the pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament, the soul of Mendel Ben Herschel Cohen, who has gone to his eternal rest, as his family and friends pray for the elevation of his soul. His resting place shall be in the Garden of Eden. Therefore the Master of Mercy will care for him under the protection of his wings for all time, and bind his soul in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance, and we will rest in peace. Let us respond.
Amen.
We will now lower the casket. The pallbearers will please come forward. Our tradition teaches us that sometimes the most difficult things in life are also the most important. Sometimes the things that have the most value are also the most challenging. Our tradition teaches us that the final act of physical kindness we can do to a loved one is to return their body to the earth, to allow the soul to continue on its upward journey. And for this sacred task, we don't pass it off onto other people, but we do it ourselves. And therefore, the family comes first, some earth on the coffin, followed by friends. And there are a few traditions associated with this. These are just customs. So we use the back of the shovel, and we don't pass the shovel from person to person. These are just ways of showing our reticence to do that. So allowing our loved ones to be buried, to be placed in the earth, you get one final chance to tuck them in one last time. Immediate family, please come forward. Is there anyone else who would like to participate in the sacred tradition? Please come forward at this time.
Never seen it.
Excuse me. They'll go back in. My dad, that long time. Okay. Enjoyed seeing it. She's got a sister down there. You always have to ask something. Just recovering, right? I just had some operations. I had a hip replaced and a problem with my prostate. Hello. How are you? Good. If you can't play golf, call me, we'll go to the casino. I'm there for Saturday. Hit ball. Now my hand. Hit Saturday. All right, man, take care. Start sliding on tomorrow. I didn't bid it to her, but I got her picture. That's right. Liz. Liz playing well. Yeah. I spoke to Manny twice a day. Religious. 11 and 4. The phone was ringing and Thursday was in my phone.
Are they going to say Kaddish? I'm so glad we were together at that birthday party.
yeah.
All right, now it's your job to take care of my daughter.
You were there too, weren't you?
Yeah, I
Just gave her $1,000, $10 a day for her. Bill, he had a deal for $10. Coffee, meat and free and $1 tip. It was 10. Well, I just had a wedge and a kitchen wedge and a sandwich. And you know, you got a can, so it's not kind of but so Thursday, I promise Thursday. I called him Friday and didn't get an answer. Saturday I didn't get an answer. So Monday I called Jim. And she said, look at that in the hospital yesterday.
Excuse us, please.
Last year has been terrible. I had diabetes, just didn't take it. Took a pill. I'm taking a pink pill today. I'm taking a yellow pill. The way he was, he's driving a Honda that I sold him for $3,000. It's got over three. It's got over 300,000.
He was that old car he was talking about. It was sold.
Are you going to buy it back?
I'm going to try to get it back. And you know what? I sold to him so cheap. And about a month later, he says, you know what? I took advantage of you. I want to give you another $1,000. It was like $1,000 under. But I still sold it.
Everything that they said about
True.
it is true. Listen, that's a good life.
Frugal wasn't the word.
Cheap.
Oh God, I could tell you, we were out there one night and Ellen, no, this low went by and left a bigger tip.
I have to go by in the restaurant every time we eat, so I can go to the bathroom and give the waitress $5.
Well,
She said, all he said, oh, she did it for me today, man. That's the way you thought, but he was getting back to college, 10,000.
hey, Lowell, they haven't done the prairie yet.
Miss Goodall?
Where are you going? He's got to keep moving.
Hold on, come on.
Are y'all going to the Kins?
Yeah.
So you going right after this, the Kins? Or it's at 5:30. I didn't understand why.
Yeah, I didn't either, but evidently I guess we'll go
Well,
by
I
there.
think they've got to finish this and say
I'll ask
prayer.
the rabbi.
How you doing with your hip?
Hip is fine, but my colon, not my colon, my prostate and my bladder have problems. That's what my real. I've had a catheter now going on 5 weeks. We're going to figure it out. I'm going to the medical university this week. A new guy. We'll see.
It's like I feel like I've tried everything in the world for my back. And I said, you know, this might just be the way I'm going.
It's 6:15 at Kim's house.
5:50?
Oh.
No, 5:30.
6:50. I just asked the rabbi.
Well, it said 5:30.
It did.
It said
In the
5:30.
paper.
He's wrong.
Let me go ask him again.
And tell him it was announced for 5:30.
Ask him.
Hey, Alan.
Hey,
Good, okay?
I'm doing fine. How are you doing, Lee?
I saw your picture, you and Gedney and
Yeah,
the
we-
super lawyers.
That's
Super,
Gedney's the
super.
super lawyer. I'm not the super
You were
lawyer.
just part of the picture?
Yeah, I'm just in the picture.
No, there was big Gedney. This must have been
I know, it was a
before.
super lawyer's thing. If you look at the picture, it says Gedney's out the third.
Do you know Alvin Hammer, Barbara?
No, Barbara
Epstein. I'm
Hey,
sorry,
how are you
Alvin.
doing?
This is Lowell Epstein's wife.
Okay.
Okay, my claim to fame.
So,
Excuse me, I'm going to get past you,
so
okay?
the picture is Gedney Howe the third, super lawyer. Gedney Howe the fourth, rising star. And the two on the end, nothing.
Oh, I didn't see that. I said, Jonathan, how come, he says, all it is an advertisement. And his friend, I didn't ask about us.
Shiva is at 5:30. Minions at 6:15. That's what it is.
Okay, Shiva, right?
Yeah.
Shiva, man. Good. I asked why his friend from the Parker Law firm was not in the picture. I forget the guy's name, but he's really a high-profile lawyer. He said he didn't want to pay the money. I didn't.
I never have asked to be your super lawyer, and I think if I got asked, I'd turn it down.
It's
Gedney
all right.
Gedney got the complete lawyer award this year, and but he was already died before he did. So I said, he should have gotten it 10 years ago.
Well,
That's how things are.
you're right.
All right, let me say hello to Harris.
All right, go ahead.
Get out of here.
Elaine, you see Alvin? Oh, okay. All right. You got a set of prayers. What? Be careful. Not this. Go to the next. What? What? I thought all the speakers were very good. I mean, I think they had a good subject. Good subject.
Harry's got the best chauffeur in town, doesn't he?
Right price. The right price, too.
Were you home with that nutcase? That little thing?
Elaine?
Oh, saw it? You saw it? Yeah. Uh-huh. Right.
We're now going to recite the Mourner's Kaddish. Before we conclude the service, I'm just going to announce the Shiva times. The Shiva will be held tonight from shortly after what time now? So from 5:30 until 6:30. At 6:15 there'll be a minyan for Mincha Maariv, and the rest of the nights there'll be Shiva both in Omni and at different times. Please go to the email announcements to look for the specific times and address, and gate code, and all of the other things. We're now going to ask to make two lines as the mourners will walk through.
What do you say?
And we'll wish them additional words of consolation.
Oh, that's his dad.
May the omnipresent comfort you amongst those who mourn Zion.